Share. All right. All right, we are on day 17. We're going to be talking about menu design, pricing, and costing. So we talked about day 16, just a kind of a recap. We talked about target demographics. We talked about, or actually a recap on the menu. Who wants to read the recap of the menu?
Create your menu. Represent concept. Create for your target demographic. Well-balanced foundation and standardized procedures. Base for standard recipes. Base for recipe cost. Base for inventory list. And base for established price strategy.
Thank you. Thank you. And so that's kind of what we're going to be talking about. The recap is talking about purchasing, storing, issuing, cooking, pre-serving, or preparing for service, or pre-service. And then you got service. Then you have basically consuming it, and then cleaning it up after consumption, and then the whole process over again. So that's kind of the process of the food and beverage cycle. And then creating a menu, standardized recipe. Okay, and everybody got a copy of the standardized recipe, or should have a copy of the standardized recipe. If you don't, I will have one for you for today. I will give it to you because you are going to need it for today. Okay, a standardized recipe is a set written instructions used to basically prepare the food, but it is specific for that product. Like what kind of material do you need? Do you need a pot? You need a pan? You need to have lists. You need to have HACCP program if you have any. If you deal with the HACCP program, you have that information down. But any sort of information that can help someone produce the food, if there's any waste or leftovers, what to do with the leftovers, any of that sort of stuff. If you're like having to cut up a chicken and you only are using, I don't know, let's say the chicken breast, you still need, you have all the other pieces, right, of the chicken. So we need to make sure that we know what we do with that. So a standardized recipe is basically a set of instructions that clearly kind of gives you a step-by-step process on how to make a product. A good standard recipe will include sorry, my allergies are real bad today. It started raining here a few minutes ago, so sorry. I apologize for having to clear my throat so many times. But a good standardized recipe will include a menu item's name, obviously, right? You need the menu item's name. You need the total yield, like the number of servings, right? You need a number of servings. You need the portion size. How many are is it a 6-ounce portion? Is it a 5-ounce portion? Excuse me. What kind of portion size are you looking for? And then ingredient list, just basically any sort of anything that you have to do to cook the product. And preparation procedures, like any specific things, anything you need to order, any kind of blending, any kind of mixing, any kind of saute, any of that sort of stuff. Hold on. Oh, okay. Roy, no problem. It's okay if your connection's bad. Just, I'm recording it. Okay, so a good standardized recipe will also include cooking temps and times. Why? Because that helps you make sure you're not temperature abusing. If it's something critical, you could always say, check the temperature. Make sure that you're 165 degrees for internal for chicken or whatever else. But any sort of critical control point, you can put a little thing saying, hey, please check the temperature, all of that sort of stuff. Any specific instructions used in the operation, any mise en place, any list of equipment, any ingredient list or any special preparation, service instructions, how to serve it. If you're not going to serve it, how to cool it, how to hold it in the right temperature, whatever else, how to plate it up, the plating process, how to garnish it, any pictures on the plating process. So those are the things that I want to see when it comes to a standardized recipe. Some things to remember when writing a standardized recipe: if you are starting with a home or an internet recipe, make it first, right? This is only like, for example, like if you're putting this menu on or putting it on the menu, or you're doing like I'm not asking you to make it right now, but I'm just saying you want to make it first and make sure your instructions are properly done. It comes out proper, it comes out correct, and everything is good on it. You never make a recipe that you've never done before, and put it on your menu or what have you. And you want to make sure that recipe, that standardized recipe, is clear and concise, and everybody understands what it is. A good recipe will like. Okay. Well, right. So you also need a you just want to make sure it meets all the expectations and has all of the things that these things right here. Menu name, like I need the name, I need the yield, I need the portion, I need the ingredients, I need the preparation, I need the cooking times, the special instructions, mise en place, serving instructions, and plating and garnishing. Those are very important. Benefits for using a standardized recipe. Well, any of y'all use a standardized recipe or have a standardized recipe booklet, like at your work that you work right now? Do you all have a standardized recipe? No?
No.
Okay. It's interesting because, just to keep it so where everything is accurate and concise, and because a standardized recipe has the portion size and the quality, and things that these kinds of things you've got to make sure of is make sure that everything is, the recipe includes the portion size, standardized any sort of thing, making sure that for truth in advertising or truth in the menu, make sure that if it's salmon, we need to make sure that it's our wild caught salmon. It needs to be wild caught salmon. So make sure you write that down and be specific on the actual thing, because truth in advertising is very important. You know, you have to make sure you're true to what you're saying it is, and make sure that it is you know, grouper instead of black drum or whatever else, because grouper and black drum, you know, a lot of times you can use those kind of inner, you know, because they're about the same. But again, if you call grouper, if you don't call it in its black drum, you know, you're not being truth in advertising of what it is. You know, if you have all of this stuff, you're going to have fewer errors. You're going to have fewer orders being sent back. You're going to have fewer mistakes. You're going to have, you know, in fewer mistakes, that equals more money in your pocket. Benefits for using a standardized recipe. Again, beating that dead horse, but it's a great cross-training, cross-training tool. I can hand someone the booklet and say, hey, here's the standardized recipe booklet. Why not, you need to know these recipes before you move to the next station. So get ready or whatever else. It's a good way of also, if someone is sick and someone needs to jump into to a station, you've got the job aid, if you will, the standardized recipe form that helps you produce the food. It also assists on, you know, like I said, training new people. It also shows the HACCP program and the principles, because of, you can say anytime there's a critical control point, wherever it is, whatever it is, you know, you can write on your menu, this is a critical control point, you need to pay attention, da 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 da. And that's kind of what the HACCP program is all about. It's a paper trail of checking and rechecking and making sure things are safe and sanitary. And it also helps reduce waste, because of, for example, if I need to, I don't know, use the scrap meat that I cut off after I was kind of cleaning up all the fat and all of that from the steak, it'll say on the menu, save all the excess fat for making sausages, or something like that. So where whoever is doing that knows, hey, I've got to save all this extra product for sausages or whatever else, they're not throwing it away. So it helps reduce waste as well. And it's easy to meet customers' expectations if I have all of that, right? Because they're in, with all of that, it's going to be standardized. It's going to be every day when those customers come in, it's going to have the same tasting food that they want every single time, because it's going to be standardized. And the customer and the employee, or I'm sorry, and the owner or whoever is managing is happy because they're staying in their food budget, because they're not using more product than they should. Because sometimes when you just kind of grab stuff and you're kind of ballparking it and all of that sort of stuff, you know, you use a little more product, or maybe you don't use enough product. And so there's a little bit of a kind of a inaccuracy when it comes to that. So standardized recipes are so important. Okay. The yield of the recipe is the number of portions it will be produced. So when I asked you, when it says yield, that's when, how many is this going to produce? Yield can also be explained as a total value or total weight of the recipe produced. Or an example would be a soup that yields 24 8-ounce portions so it's going to yield 24 8-ounce portions. That's a yield. Portions which could also start, I'm sorry, portions which could also be stated as a yield of 6 quarts or 1.5 gallons, whatever else, but it's got the yield, whatever yield you're getting. So yeah, you need to make sure you put that. Standard yield, often higher cost ingredients such as meat, all of that, any sort of, because when you're and then when we're fabricating meat, we also have a yield, and sometimes you have to remove some fat, and that is called a yield as well. Standardized recipe, portion. Okay, we've kind of talked about. It helps. Let's see, portion cost. It basically helps me separate a standardized recipe. Helps me separate all the costs that I need in it. Also, it also shows me how long it takes to cook the product and to make the product, so I can kind of estimate how much money or how much time or how much time/money my employees are going to take to produce this product, right? Because again, everything equals money to me in the restaurant industry, right? So when customer or when employees are cooking this product, I'm looking at how or preparing this stuff. How much am I spending on them to prepare this stuff? Is it feasible for me to get them to do it? Is it cost effective and all of that? So that's kind of also another thing that helps determine if or determine is a standardized recipe if the recipe is going to be able to produce the food in time. Is it going to be too expensive, whatever else? So standardized recipe kind of gives you all of that information. Let's see. Someone read this slide while I get some water real quick, if someone doesn't mind.
Standard portions. Simple methods to control portion include weighing meat before it is served, using the same size juice glasses when the juice is served, counting items such as shrimp, and portioning with scoops and ladles that hold a known volume. Another method is using convenience products. These products are received usually frozen, and are ready to cook. Portions are consistent in size and presentation and are easily costed out on a per unit basis. This can be helpful when determining the standard portion cost.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Kind of basically defines what standardized portioning is. And like they were saying, you need to make sure that you pour it into the glass. Make sure that the glass is the right size. Make sure that it fits properly. You need to make sure that the bowl and the cup of the soup, it fits correctly. The amount of soup that you've scheduled out fits correctly in that bowl or that cup. and there's multiple sizes of soup cups and soup bowls. So, making sure all of that fits and making sure that you write down, this is the exact plate that you need to use. This is the exact bowl you need to use, whatever else. That is very important because of, if you put it in the wrong bowl, it's going to not look as, if it's a big bowl and it looks like there's a small amount of soup in there, and then the I would say your customers would feel kind of ripped off or whatever else is they're thinking, oh, well, look, there's not much soup there and all of that. So you need to just make sure that everything is standardized, everything's written down, whatever's produced, whatever you need to produce that product and to push it out to the customer, it needs to be written down. Okay. The plates, even I would write down, make sure your plates are hot or warm. Make sure you stick your plates in the oven to stay warm, because hot food should be on hot plates, cold food should be on cold plates, type of deal. So those things also need to be on there as well. Any information that could make your employees or your customer or employees produce the food better, faster, smoother, without less mistakes, the better it is. The more information, the better it is, because they're going to make less mistakes, and less mistakes equals more money in your pocket. All right, sub recipes. Now, I was talking about this yesterday. I think again, I get kind of confused because I am teaching two different restaurant ops classes. So, and they're in two different. We're in two different days, or we're off balanced a little bit. So we're ahead, and they're a little bit behind. Don't know if I talked about it with y'all or not, but sub recipes, talking about like how you have, sometimes you have a recipe within a recipe. So there might be 2 or 3 recipes in to make a dish. For example, I mean, I'm going to just use, let's say, Béarnaise sauce or a hollandaise sauce or some sort of sauce for a New York strip steak. Well, you got the New York strip steak recipe, and then you also have a separate recipe for Béarnaise sauce, because they cost different. They're 2 different recipes, so they need to be costed out separately and made separately. So those are 2 different recipes. You got New York strip, and then you got the sauce. So you would have to make 2 recipes for that one dish. Does that make sense? Or like for, I don't know, spaghetti, you have to make marinara, right? And then you've got to then you kind of make the spaghetti. So spaghetti is kind of, or the marinara is separate than the actual, finished spaghetti product. So those are the things that you need to be very careful with. So when I'm looking at your recipes, and what y'all are going to be doing today is you're going to either be brainstorming, writing down items that you want on your for your restaurant. So you're going to be coming up with 9 recipes for your restaurant. So, but there might be more than 9 recipes because they might have sub recipes, right? So you need to be very careful with that. We're going to talk about costing out, because midway through this week, we're going to start costing out, because I think most, because what's today? Tuesday. So we'll probably have people by, Wednesday or Thursday getting ready to having all their recipes written down. So I will show you how to cost it out or we're going to talk about it right now.
Hey, what is going on, Amazon business owners and very soon to be Amazon business owners? Bob Schneck.
Hey guys, it's Damien from Marketing
All right. Can y'all hear that?
Food Online, and this podcast
Yes, yes.
is going to be all about pricing your product. I want to get into discussing some of the tips and tricks on pricing a product when you are just starting out. It can be a bit of a challenge to create a profit, but you need to figure out a way to do that in order for you to sustain your business and grow it. So let's get right into it. Okay, guys, so let's hop right into this topic. And actually, I want to thank my subscriber who sent me the question about this. I had a couple of videos where I did cover briefly some information about pricing, but I just wanted to go over this again because this is a topic in regards to creating a food business or food product. It's super crucial, and it's very, very important to understand the different types of ways to price a product. Because there's actually a lot of variables and factors that come into play when it comes to creating a price that's going to be profitable for you and also make your product enticing for either a food distributing company or even for a customer to buy it from you. So now, right off the bat, let me lay down this one simple principle, and it's going to be an absolute fact because it's from my own experience, as well as any food startup that starts out. It's always going to be the most expensive time for your business is when you first start. And the reason why I say that is I'll explain that what that means. So when you first start a food business, traditionally, normally most food businesses actually start at home, right? They start at home, you got a recipe and you've got some really great feedback and you want to create a food product, but you haven't really bought the ingredients, you haven't bought packaging, all of these aspects you really haven't thought too much about. And you're going to be probably producing this product in very small batches. Very good likelihood you're going to be making it yourself. And it's going to take up your time as well. But when it comes to buying the ingredients to produce it and the bags and the labels and everything else, you're going to be doing it on a small scale. And when you do anything on a small scale, it's always more expensive. Obviously, that's just kind of a no-brainer. But it's also not just a no-brainer, but it's also a concept that a lot of food startups don't necessarily take into consideration. So don't think that forever moving forward after you get your food business up and running, that everything's going to be this expensive. The flour and the sugar is going to be this expensive. My goodness, it's going to be so expensive for the bags. The bags are costing me nearly 50 cents to $1 each, or maybe it's a container, maybe your label. The reason being is that you're buying them in smaller quantities. As your business takes off and you have cash flow and you begin to have a profit, then you can begin to buy products, buy ingredients, buy labels, and get the things you need at a much bigger quantity at a lower price. Okay, that's just the normalcy of doing business. So right off the bat, it's always going to be the most expensive. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. How do you determine the price? Well, there's a lot of questions you need to ask yourself. Number one, you need to find out, how are you going to sell it? Are you looking to produce a product that you're going to take and give to a food distributor? And that food distributor is going to need to make a margin, and they're going to sell it to a retail grocery store or a high-end grocery store or even a restaurant, whoever the end user is. There's going to be a food distributor between you and the end user. Is that the route that you want to take? Do you want to make your product and just sell it directly to your customer? Maybe go online and you want to have an eBay store, Etsy store, or even just some type of a store, even your own website, and you're going to have customers buy it from you. Okay. Or maybe you're going to produce it and just sell it directly to the retailer. Okay. See, so there's a multitude of different places and different ways that you're going to sell it. You need to figure out what you want to do. Now, can you do a little bit of all of them? Of course you can. Nobody says you can't. But in order for you to make a margin, my motto has always been, and my philosophy has always been, the fewer people that stand between you and your customer, the more money you make. It's a common sense thing. It's very simple. So not saying you can't go through a food distributor. Food distributors are fantastic. They can do a lot of logistics for you. They have a lot of connections and the contacts. They have the ability to grow a brand because they already have everything in place that you don't have in place. Okay. Also, are you going to be making it at home? If so, well, you're not having to pay a few $1,000s a month to rent a commercial facility, or a few hundred a month to rent for a couple hours, have a commercial kitchen where you can produce a product. So that's not going into your costs. See, so there's a lot of dynamics. There's a lot of different things that come into pricing. And it's not necessarily just a simple black and white issue where you can just price it one way and then sell it and make a margin and move on. You have to figure out, how am I going to do it? How am I going to do this? So if you're making it from home, I'll give you some examples. You're making it from home and you're doing small batches and you're just selling to farmers markets. You're selling locally, right? Basically the cottage food route. That's perfect. That's a great way to start. Nobody's standing between you and your end user because cottage food laws dictate that you have to sell the product directly to the customer. So you really can't facilitate the use of a food distributor or something on a commercial scale because you can't do that from home. 99.9% of the time in most states, you can't do that from home. Okay, so that's the best way to get going. And reason being is you need to factor in the cost of your product, the amount of time it takes you to do it, and what is your margin going to be? What is it that you want to sell it for? Now, something to keep in mind, you need to check in the marketplace products that are similar to what you're already making. Take a look at the retail price. Now, keep in mind, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, you got to keep in mind the fact that when you look at a lot of these products that are already in grocery stores and mass produced, they're done by companies, corporations, and big businesses who can get ingredients for pennies on the dollar. Well, you're getting your ingredients for dollars on the dollar, basically, for lack of a better expression. So your pricing can't necessarily be exactly as theirs. It's going to have a tendency to be a little higher because your costs are going to be a little higher. Don't let that discourage you, though, that your price point for your product is not going to stay that way forever. Okay? And in some cases, I'll tell you the truth, when we started our candy business and we got into retail stores, the price we were making, the margins were horrible. I'll be honest with you, they were horrible. They were good enough to at least cover getting more ingredients and turning around, but our profit margins were really low, very low when we started. But I knew at that time, sometimes you have to eat dirt. You got to eat a little bit of that because before your product takes off or anyone knows about it, you just need to sell them. You need to get them out there and get people to taste them. You need to start doing it. And because when you think about it, let's say you go to a farmer's market and you set up a tent and you have 100 units to sell. Well, you pretty much need to bring about 100 units worth of samples, by the way. And that is product that you're making. You're not getting anything for except for a response from your customer. Nobody's paying for it. It's a sample. So you need to sample out your product. You need to sample it like crazy. Okay? That's just how the business is when you first started. It's almost like with any business. You have to almost literally give your stuff away till it gets traction, and then you have the potential for profit. There's a lot of YouTube. There's a lot of young guys on YouTube that talk about launching products, and they do this market research, and they overanalyze and over-research. And at the end of the day, when they launch a product, they're expecting to get this huge margin or this profit for their items, and they end up going into the marketplace, and the products are almost breaking even. In some cases, even less than that, they end up losing money, and that's their product launch. So in almost every situation, it's very challenging and very difficult for anybody to launch a new product and right off the bat turn this enormous profit. I personally have never come across anybody I've met who's done that, especially in the food business.
If working all the time in your business is burning you out and hurting your family, here are a few things that might help. I want to show you how.
So just keep that in mind. You need to answer those questions and find out who are you going to sell it to. And that has a big factor on your margins. So again, let's go over the fact that the idea that you want to go to a food distributor. Sounds like a great idea, and it is. In some instances, it is. But the food distributor is going to buy your product, and let's say they're going to buy 20 cases of it, and they're going to put it in their warehouse, and they need to mark it up so they have a margin because they're in the business to make money too. So what you're selling to them is going to be even less than what it would be if you sold it to a retailer, because now you have a third party, you have a third spoke in the wheel, and someone has to come up with a margin for them. So your per unit price is going to be even less, considerably less. So you don't really make money on units. You make money on cases. You make money on pallets. If you can make a pallet worth of product and send it to a food distributor, then you may make some profit, okay? It boils down to trying to make money on case packs and hundreds and hundreds or even thousands of units, not individual units. So do I have a one-size-fits-all ability to create a price point for you? No. And I'll tell you, nobody will except for you. Because all of the other, for lack of for a pun, all of the ingredients that come into play, okay? not only just the ingredients and the packaging, but the ingredients. I say, are you making it from home? Do you have to rent a commercial kitchen? If you're renting a commercial kitchen and you're doing that for a couple hours and you're producing your product, you got to factor in how much you just spent for that commercial kitchen. So those 20 cases of cookies you made, let's just use that example. You just rented a commercial kitchen for $400 for like 4 hours. So now your cookies have become very expensive. Who's going to cover that margin? Who's going to make that? There's no way that you're going to sell that to another distributor. And he's going to stock it in his inventory, and it's going to be to the point where he can even make margin before he sells it to the retailer, because the retailer still has to make a profit. So see, there's a lot of people in between it. Plus, there's a lot of variables. So is there a one size fits all for determining a price for it? No. And I'll tell you, you can go on and you can Google all you want about figuring out the prices, and there are going to be wonderful blogs and article posts that talk about, 40% reduced price point for the retail when you sell to distributors. And if you have a wholesaler comes in, it's about a 25 to 30%. Right. Well, that sounds great. Those statistics and those percentages sound great, but you still got to factor in all of what it takes to make your product and who's making it. What is that total cost? And then you could step into the realm of maybe you should multiply it. You've heard the multiple of 2.5 times or 2 times or what have you. So all of that stuff is there's so many variables. It's very hard to determine what it is. But understanding what I just said and giving that a basic foundation for you to know what goes into creating your price is going to help you out. Okay. So if you have any questions, anything else about this, let me know down below in the description. And of course, if you guys want to get in touch with me, we do have consulting available. I can always help you guys one-on-one. We have our consult.
All right, so that kind of, that gave you a lot of information, but for sure, like I was saying earlier, you need to know how much you're spending before you can kind of cost out everything and know exactly what it is that you're spending, because you can't just keep up with the Joneses or keep up with the neighbors across the street or whatever you want to call it, of the pricing. If they price it, if my next door neighbor prices it one way, should I price it the same way? Well, I don't know. Do I pay the same amount for the electricity, gas, rent, all of that sort of stuff? Am I buying all the same product? So that's why you can't just use someone else's costing. You need to really cost it out yourself and make sure.
Okay, we are back for more information on how to make your menu, and today deals with menu
And we're going to talk about menu pricing. This, I think, the last video.
Okay, we are back for more information on how to make your menu, and today deals with menu pricing. So this section of the unit is going to involve some math. The first item you need to consider is your labor cost. Your labor cost gets incorporated into your menu items cost because you had to pay somebody to make the food. Labor costs vary. Your new employees are going to cost less than those that have been there for a while. And likewise, state law may dictate, or unions may dictate, how much you need to pay people. All right. Competition. Competition is you need to look at similar restaurants in your area and see what they are charging. You may charge a little bit less if you want to undercut them, or you might charge just a little bit more to make your restaurant seem like it's a little bit more upscale for the same items. But you need to be in the ballpark. You need to look at your customers. What can they afford to pay? For instance, if we look at Javicino, the 99% of our customers are high school students, so they're not going to come in wanting to pay $6 for a cup of coffee. So we need to find a way to sell coffee cheaper than $6 as compared to Starbucks. Now, again, we wait on teachers, but they're wanting something quick and easy as well. Atmosphere. What is the atmosphere of your restaurant? If your restaurant is a real quick walk in, grab your food, get out, you're not going to be able to charge as much as you can for a nice sit-down restaurant. So that would be atmosphere, and location is huge. Restaurants that are in busy cities, those people usually have more disposable income, which means they can afford some higher prices. If you're looking at a rural area and your restaurant's in a real small town, incomes are lower there, so people have less disposable income. So location is very important. Now, there are a couple ways to determine the pricing method, and the first is the factor method. So first, as you go through your business, you're going to determine a goal, and that goal will be your food cost percentage. And you want that goal to be lower, meaning what percentage of the price is food? All right, and then another certain percent would obviously be your labor and all of that. But this rule of thumb keeps you from having to figure out exactly your labor, your electricity, your rent, and so forth. It's based on food cost percentage. So once you have determined your food cost percentage for your business, you divide 100 by the percentage to convert it to a factor. And again, there's going to be an example to show this. Then you multiply the recipe cost by that factor to determine the selling cost. Now, I believe in restaurants, you never want to be over 35% food cost percentage. Some items might be over it, but then you need some items that are way below it to counter that overage. But the lower you keep it, the better your profit will be. But then you have to balance that with quality as well. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration. So let's look at this example. Your restaurant food cost goal is 25%. So it says that was step 1. Step 2, divide 100 by the percentage. So 100 divided by 25 is 4. So 4 is your factor. So I'm going to tell you that the hamburger and fries has a recipe cost of $1.50. So you can make a hamburger and fries for $1.50. That is your food cost. So your selling cost is $1.50 times 4, which is your factor, and you are going to sell that hamburger for $6. So that's one method restaurants can use to price their items. The next method is called markup on cost method. The food cost is divided by the desired food cost percentage. Example, a grilled cheese and soup cost $1.25 to make, and the desired food cost percentage is 25%. You take $1.25 divided by 0.25. Now you must remember that the percentage has to be stated as a decimal, and then your selling cost is $5. Now, both of these methods give you the exact same answer. So if we did the hamburger and fries here, it would come out to $6. And if we did the grilled cheese and soup with the other method, it would come out to $5. However, different people's brains work differently. And so one of these will probably be easier for you to follow than the other one. And it doesn't matter which method you use on the exam unless it specifically tells you to demonstrate a method. But you will need to know both of them for the worksheet. Now, another method is competitors pricing. Now, you still need to do either the factor method or the markup method because you need a ballpark. Then you look at your competitors pricing. So you might be getting your hamburger and fries for $1.50 where your competitors are getting them for 90 cents. So for you to undercut them means you're going to greatly increase your food cost percentage and end up, you could eventually end up losing money. So you can look at competitors' pricing, but you must compare it to what the actual math showed so that you're not undercutting yourself. And again, you charge slightly less to attract more customers or to lure them away from the competition, or you can charge slightly more to appear more upscale. Again, this is risky. It does not account for differences in labor costs, rent, etc. So you really need to compare all those factors before you make that decision. And then there's psychological pricing method, and this is all mental. And it's kind of goofy, but it's very true. Once you've determined your selling price, then this method can be used. So the price is adjusted based on the customer's reactions to the price. So let's say you're going to sell your hamburger for $6. Well, according to all the studies, more customers will buy the hamburger if you drop the price to $5.95. Is it only 5 cents? Yep. But in a customer's head, they're looking at the first number. So even though it's only 5 cents less, in their head they think it's $1 less. It's crazy, but it's true. If you can drop it just below, they're more likely to buy it. So if you even think about restaurants, 49 cents. That seems less than a whole lot less than 50 cents. But most restaurants don't sell food items that are $6.25. They'll keep them at $6 or $5.95 and adjust other prices to accommodate. Or they might increase it if you want to sell it for $6.50, you might as well adjust it to $6.95 because people are going to think it's $7 regardless if it's 50 or 95. So a customer views a price increase of $4.95 to $5.25 as a big change. So you can do the math, that's a 30-cent price increase. They think it's huge because in their head you went from $4 to $5. Yet they view a change of $4.25 to $4.75 as a small change, and that was 50 cents because the first number, that 4, stayed the same. In fact, majority of customers will not even notice the difference from 4.25 to 4.75 because in their head it's $4. Yet they will notice this change immediately because it crossed the dollar line. So again, that's some psychological games that are real that you need to consider when pricing out your food items. Okay, now on your worksheet, you're going to have several.
All right, why don't y'all take a 10-minute break? We'll come back. We'll get you set up for what I want y'all to do. Then we'll probably leave for the rest of the class. So 10-minute break and we'll come back and get you set up and we will get you working.
Hey, Chef. One question about our menus and picking the recipes for our like restaurants.
Everybody there?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, Chef.
All right.
Yes,
So
Chef.
So what I'm gonna need y'all to do is you need to, and it says on this it says use the menu list. So what my suggestion is write down as many items that you want to do in your in your restaurant, like write down, just kind of brainstorm, put down a bunch of recipe or a bunch of items that you would like, and then just pick 9 out of 9 of the items and write a recipe for it. So what I need you to do for the rest of the day, I need you to work on creating a standard or coming up with 9 items and making a standardized recipe for all those 9 items. Does everybody understand that?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, Chef.
All right,
Yes, Chef.
does everybody
Yes,
understand how to fill out one of those standardized recipes? I've got it. This video is going to be posted, but today I won't require you to stay online and to do it. But next week and end of this week, I'm gonna just say, okay, you can work on your project, but I need you to come back at 1 o'clock or not at 1 o'clock, but come back at like 8 o'clock or 8:30. And but today we're not going to do that. I want you to work on 100%. I want by the end of the day you to have picked out 9 recipes. or 9 items that you're going to sell at your restaurant. So that is what I want, and I'd like you to at least narrow it down to 9, and maybe at least do one standardized recipe. You know, you've got the rest of the class to do it, you know, and just get it done. Any questions?
Do you want us to send you like the list of our recipes, or are we good to work on it?
No, I'm good with you to work on it, but what I would like is I would like to, you know, start to look at a few of them. So, you know, you can share your link with me, and then I can kind of look at them throughout while y'all are making it.
Yeah, chef.
Cool. All right, then. Well, on that note, I'm gonna leave it with y'all to work on your standardized recipe or come up with your 9 recipes and start kind of writing down those standardized recipes. All right. All right.
All right,
Then
chef.
go.
Are we
go
coming, Chef?
No, not
Are we
today.
coming back online, or is that the end of class
No,
today?
that's the end of class today. But
Okay.
hey, did Chef Robin talk to you? Did y'all get it all worked out?
Yes, correct. I spoke with Chef Robin and Shelly.
Okay, great. I just wanted, I saw your email and I called her up and said, hey, you need to call her. So hopefully she got it taken care of. Cool.
Correct. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Sorry for the confusion. All right. Peace out, guys. See y'all tomorrow, but I want to start seeing some stuff by tomorrow.
Good, chef.
All right. Y'all have a great day.
All right, bye, Chef.
Bye, guys.
Hey, Chef, so I understand this correctly. You want the 9 recipes for each item?
I need 9 recipes total, right?
Okay.
You know, like so. But remember, some of the recipes might have, you know, 2 recipes in there, and that's fine. I need 9 items that are going to go on your menu, and you need to write a standardized recipe for that.
Okay, so our own recipe, right?
Whatever. I mean, you can come up, you can go look. I mean, you can create your own, or you can just kind of go get one from the internet if you want to. It doesn't really matter to me.
Okay, Chef.
Cool.
All right. Thank you.
Have a great day, guys.
Oh, wait, Chef.
I just
Yeah,
want to check in
I'm not
with-
leaving.
that you got my my private message.
I don't know. Let me look.
Oh, I had come into class late.
Oh yeah. I got
I'm
it.
so sorry about
Yeah,
that.
I got it. No worries.
I'll be sure to get these to you, and then when the recording is up, I'll watch that.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, thank you so much, Chef.
Of course.
Okay, Chef, you see, my restaurant is different. It's like I'm doing cultures, like I'm doing like African, you know, French and all that. So like, can I pick like, you know, different recipes from each culture and then try to make
Well,
it
of course.
9?
Of course.
Okay, because like mine was different from everybody's, and
Yeah, no, that's totally fine.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Anybody else? All righty. Y'all have a good day.